It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show, where our mission is to serve you and empower you so you make better financial decisions in your life. Well, it's my favorite day of the week, Clark Stinks Day. I get to hear about all the mistakes I made straight ahead. And later, you're not going to believe this, what the average car payment is in the U.S. right now, and an amount that 1 out of 8 people are paying on car payments each month will blow your mind. And you know what that's leading to? Huge rise in repossessions, making me really nervous. I also want to mention to you that we're here for you around the clock. We never sleep in the world of Clark Howard because we are here to serve you at Clark.com and ClarkDeals.com. And at Clark.com, we have guides to various things that eat up your wallet. Ways for you to improve your life, reduce your expenses, maybe both at the same time. Check it out. Check out our guides. See where today you can attack an area of expense in your life and put more money back in your wallet right now. But without further ado, it's time to find out how badly I stink.
Okay, here we go with this week's Clark Stinks. This time Clark is half rosy and half smelly. I've been contributing to the Roth portion of my 401k for many years. Based on Clark's advice, I was able to get my employer to change our plan to allow Roth conversions. So far, I have converted 2/3 of my 401k to Roth. Thanks, Clark. So, why is Clark stinky? He says that employer matches are always pre-tax. What he doesn't mention is that you may be able to convert most of the match. In my case, 70% of my employer's match is convertible, and that's from Greg in Houston.
Okay, Greg, thank you. So an employer match is pre-tax. And I have this bias where I kind of like when somebody gets into retirement that they have a pre-tax pile of money and a post-tax pile of money, and the employer match can be that. But if you don't need that flexibility, you're fine paying the tax along as you go, then Greg, that's fantastic.
My comment is in regards to the discussion on a recent show about urgent care clinics asking for a credit card number and security codes and the security risk that this presents. One solution is to get an Apple credit card and make use of the extra security protections it has by design. You can easily ask for a new number anytime in the Wallet app, since the credit card number is not printed on the card, and the card has an additional security feature you can turn on in the Wallet app called Advanced Fraud Protection, which periodically changes your security code, and that's from Sam.
Sam, that is a great suggestion, and the Apple credit card has not been the huge success that Apple thought it would be, but for the right person, it is a great option. And the Apple credit card works best when you do everything, electronically through your iPhone versus the physical card.
Regarding the Clark Stinks Can You Hear Me Now about prepaid versus postpaid cellular, the writer forgot to mention what phone he had. A big variable in the quality of service is your phone. Providers have frequency bands that are sent out from the towers, while phones have frequency bands that receive those signals. I can't speak today. I bet the listener had an old phone that could not receive the same frequencies as his father. It should be mentioned more often that people should match the bands on their phones with the providers. Usually newer phones will get better service, and that's from Chase.
Chase, thank you. And it's a confusing area that's hard for people to get their arms around, but you can look when you're looking at the specifications for a phone online. It'll show you all the bands that it operates on. And then you can look at the cell phone carrier, prepaid or postpaid, and see what bands they operate on. In the particular case of that post, the individual had switched from the what's known as postpaid for that carrier to their prepaid operation and found the service was quite inferior. And that could actually be a result of the bands available, prepaid versus postpaid, although I had never heard of that problem before.
And we had a few about this week. Characterizing all companies who want their employees to work in the office during the week as Elon Musk authoritarians was unfair. You have no idea of the different needs of companies out there and why it may make more sense for them to want employees present, especially new companies. There are absolutely companies out there who will fail because they needed to create a company ethic and flow by having people in the office, but were scared away from imposing that because they may be seen as fascists for doing so. That approach may be best for your company, but please recognize it may not work for others trying to thrive. Dan,
thank you for that post. And you're not a fascist if you require people to come to an office. When you poll people, most anywhere except very young workers who miss the nurturing and the camaraderie and the learning that happens when you're in a physical environment. In office environments, people overwhelmingly don't want to be in the office all the time. But you're right. I worry all the time about what we might be losing in culture in my company here by not having people face-to-face working together every day physically, and only time will tell. The Elon Musk thing was really, I just thought he's pretty, what's the word, really impulsive. And he'll say something one day and then he'll say completely the opposite 2 weeks later. And it's just like whatever's coming out of his head at that moment, there seems to be no filter. And in his case, saying, everybody must come back right now or you'll be fired, was really, I thought, ridiculous. And if you want to keep really, really talented people, you don't govern your business by seat of the pants. But yes, absolutely, there are businesses that will thrive more by having people in the office, no question.
You're just a little smelly by talking about Mint Mobile like it's a huge risk. For 99 cents, they sell a 1-week trial on Amazon so your listeners can ensure they have good coverage and make an educated and risk-free decision. We did the 99-cent trial and cut the cord with AT&T over a year ago. We love how much we save with Mint. Marissa,
thank you. Mint Mobile has made a lot of people really happy, and we get very few complaints about them, as best I know. And they're a deal. I mean, they are a deal for cell phone service. And they've got the most creative family plan that's out in the marketplace, and that you don't have to do one particular plan for everybody. You can pick which of their plans works best for each person. So somebody who uses a small amount of data pays a lot less than somebody who wants unlimited data, or what the cell phone carriers call unlimited data. So Mint Mobile is a really good choice. It's just a lot of people are very risk averse of leaving a well-known national brand like the big three, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, and Mint Mobile is not one of those. And so it's important that I point out that it is different.
on the July 1st episode, a caller said that Clark stinks because he told listeners not to buy roadside assistance. They said that you may need it if your vehicle was disabled in an accident and needed to be towed. Towing from an accident scene is covered by your comprehensive or collision insurance. If your vehicle needs to be towed from an accident scene, you are already going to be filing a claim. Do not buy the roadside assistance from your insurance company. If you use it, it will be counted as a claim on your CLUE report. I've been handling insurance claims for over 15 years. Clark rules. Mike,
thank you. The one thing that I want to emphasize in what Mike pointed out is you don't ever want to buy roadside assistance from your auto insurer, because if you have a breakdown by the side of the road and you contact them and have them handle it, they may use as a dirty, rotten, stinky, terrible way to treat it as a claim against your insurance that can follow you for years on the industry database.
Clark always says his time is worth nothing, but he gave a very specific example on the minimum amount it is actually worth. He decided to pay tolls to avoid an extra 45 minutes during a trip to in Florida. He can divide the total paid in tolls by 75 cents and know his time is worth at least that hourly rate. Byron.
Oh, Byron. What do I say to that? I was actually on my way to a TV station, and I was going to be late. And I already had done the route where I would not take the toll road. And I wasn't going to make it in time, so I paid the toll.
You don't stink, but the couple of times I've heard you talk about Series I bonds, I haven't heard you mention two important facts. Maybe I missed it, but even though the limit is $10,000, you could also do $10,000 for your spouse, and you could also gift $10,000 to each child as well. On top of that $5,000 limit for tax refund is on top, the $5,000 limit for a tax refund is on top of the $10,000 online limit. So you could potentially do $15,000 for you and your spouse each if you both did online and through tax refund. So for those who have that much cash laying around, those are some great ways to get more I bonds. Thank you for your show, Clark. Brent.
Brent, thank you. And the Series I savings bonds have been both a blessing and a curse for people. We have had the complaints. It's now an issue in Congress about the problems that the Treasury has had issuing people's I bonds. It's worth it to fight through the system. And yes, you can contribute for each member of your family the $10,000. And yes, for people who are getting a large tax refund, you can divert up to $5,000 of it into Series I bonds each year. And who knows how long the I bond thing is going to be a great deal, but it's been an incredible deal. Most recent earnings period has been over 9%. And as long as inflation is elevated, they're going to be the best place to put savings right now in the United States.
Thanks for the advice on increasing auto insurance deductibles. It saves my wife and I roughly $500 a year. However, we got thrown a curveball when purchasing a new car. Our old car was 12 years old. When reviewing the paperwork, the bank required us to have deductibles that did not exceed $500. We asked if this could be waived because of our credit score, roughly 50% down payment, and the fact that it would increase our insurance expenses by roughly $1,500 over the course of the loan term. They were unwilling to budge, so we paid cash and saved $560 on interest and $1,500 on insurance. Tell your listeners to ask dealers what the insurance requirements are prior to showing up to close the deal. Matt.
Matt, thank you for that interesting suggestion, because requiring a $500 deductible on the average vehicle purchase today, new vehicle, is $46,000. For the lender to require a $500 deductible is just ridiculously stupid and mean and thoughtless. And what a shock. It's one of the 5 giant monster mega banks in the country. I'm just stunned it's one of them.
Okay, and then this is another regarding when you talked about the toll readers. I was listening to your advice about securing a multi-state uni toll reader when renting a car for a vacation. By registering the toll reader device to the rental car, one can fly through the toll gates with the e-pass and pay the bill without those nasty junk fees later. Sometimes you might even get a discount on the assessed tolls. You forgot to mention one key bit of information. Be sure to deregister the rental car license plate from your uni account the minute you return the rental. If you leave the rental car license plate tied to your account, you will be Santa Claus for the next renter. You will be paying for the charges when they go through the toll booth because the vehicle plate is tied to your account. As one who likes to save money, this is an essential final step. Happy travels, Ohio Professor.
Ohio Professor, thank you. And I apologize for not mentioning that when I turn the rental car in, before I even go into the terminal, I always remember to go on the app for the uni toll reader, and I clear out the active vehicle that's on there and remove that tag or plate number so that I don't get hit with that. And thank you for mentioning that, because that was a big oops for me not to have said that. Appreciate that very much. And pay by plate, what a crazy thing that is. You ever gotten a big pay by plate bill?
Mm-mm.
I've gotten one of those before. So coming up ahead, you want a big bill? My goodness, what people are paying for their auto loan every month, unbelievable right now. And there's a real if-then consequence from these very high car payments I'm going to discuss. All right, this is a shocker. You probably have heard, it was very heavily reported in the media, that we've crossed a point that the average vehicle loan now is more than $700 a month in the U.S. But what was not reported is something that was talked about a lot within the automotive industry, is that 1 in 8 car loans out there is for more than $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month for a vehicle payment? And then, shock of shock, people are paying these huge monthly payments. They're taking out these ultra-long loan cycles. And some oops happens in their lives. And what's happening is the vehicles are getting repoed. The repo rate is going through the roof right now. And you go out one day to get in your vehicle to go to work, and the vehicle's gone, and you're like, was it stolen? No, it was repoed. And lenders have been ultra aggressive with the repos. Why are they being so aggressive with the repossessions? Well, because a lot of vehicles that people have loans on that they couldn't pay are now worth more than the remaining value of the loan. And so the lender has ultra high incentives to come seize that vehicle and sell it right away at auction. And in a lot of states, they don't have to give you the excess. They're just pocketing the money. So you fall 1 second behind on that loan, bam, that vehicle's gone. And you have a repo on your credit for 7 years. And even if you do have a right to get the excess back from the lender will eat into that with all kinds of junk fees that are in your loan that are repossession fees. And they'll scarf thousands of dollars of the excess that you were supposed to get. And you don't have transportation anymore. And you now have a repossession on your credit. What is the point of all this? Because that's everything I just said for the last 2 minutes. Negative, 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 negative. Okay. Because I want you to know that the consequences of these ultra-high loan payments with ultra-long loans is a recipe for financial disaster. And truth be told, most of the time when we get a new vehicle or new to us used vehicle, it's not because the vehicle we have is dead. It's because our love for it died. Fall in love with that vehicle all over again that you already have, particularly if it's paid for. Because I want you to think about, do you really have a spare $700 a month going with the average, or $1,000 a month to spend on a payment? You know, a lot of times people will get tired of a car because a couple things go wrong with it. And they had to pay for this repair or that repair or the other repair. Well, you start thinking about, you take out, let's even go conservative here. You take out a 5-year loan. $700 a month. Let's just go with that number. What are you paying over those 5 years? You're paying over $40,000 in loan payments over those 5 years. That's a lot of money, right? That pays for a lot of repairs. Vehicles last much longer than our infatuation with them goes on, our love for them goes on. But it's more important that you keep yourself financially secure, especially in a time where the trend with the economy is so unclear, with whether we're headed towards an economic slowdown. Well, we're headed towards an economic slowdown. The only question is recession, and if we have one, how deep. So you got to be smart about this. To be taking on new ugly debts right now, really a bad idea. Christa?
Okay, this first question's from Brian in Georgia. My 2015 Tesla's battery pack failed, but is being replaced under warranty. Also, my friend's 2017 Tesla has had 4 battery packs replaced. Without warranty, it would have cost over $100,000 to keep these 2 cars running. I will be out of warranty early next year. Should I sell the car, or can these battery packs be fixed for $2,000 instead of the $20,000 Tesla charges?
So this one's a tough one, Brian, because we're still relatively early innings on the Tesla battery packs. And when one does fail, which is fortunately pretty rare, and gosh, your friend on a 5-year-old Tesla having 4 battery packs? I've never heard anything like that. But if your battery pack does go out of warranty, it's a massive expense. Even if you find some way to third party it, still going to be a lot of money. It's not going to be any $2,000. Your 2015 Tesla, 7 years out, the value of it normally would not be a very high number. You're almost certainly going to be in a position where you're going to end up with the vehicle having a used marketplace value with a working battery pack less than the cost of replacing the battery. So this one's hard. I mean, think about what I just said. If your vehicle's driving, keep driving it. What are the odds that your battery's going to have lightning strike twice? It would be unusual. And your friend's experience with 4 bad battery packs, never heard of it like that. So I would say yes, if your battery pack goes bad, you're going to wish you'd gotten rid of the thing. But I would play the odds here. The odds that this would happen are so very low.
And this is from Sam in Utah. I'm going to be living in Manhattan for 2 to 4 months. I recently visited and came back with a much lighter wallet. While living there without a car, what is the best way to buy groceries? It seems that my options are a timely public transit to a grocery store or a delivery service. I'd appreciate your recommendation on a delivery service.
So Sam, going from Utah with all the relatively inexpensive ways to get groceries, and then being not just in New York City in an outer borough, but being in Manhattan, it is a shock. I mean, it is unbelievable how expensive groceries are. But if you've not discovered Fairway yet, you need to know Fairway. Fairway is a wonderful supermarket operation that does have locations in Manhattan and is much cheaper than the typical Manhattan grocery choice. Second, there's Trader Joe's all over Manhattan. If you like Trader Joe's, the prices don't seem higher. I should disclose that I'm now a part-time resident of Manhattan, so I know of what I speak about grocery shopping. And so there's the Trader Joe's all over. And then there's an Aldi in Manhattan at 117th Street and Harlem River Drive. And so if you go to Aldi...
You memorized that address quick.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know where it is.
I know.
And so if you go to the Aldi, you'll be getting great prices. A lot of people in Manhattan, though, and I've done this before, there's a bus you can take from... what's the bus terminal called?
Port Authority?
Port Authority Bus Terminal, that is a bus that goes to a Sam's Club and Walmart in Secaucus. It's about a 14-minute ride from, I've obviously done this, from the Port Authority Bus Terminal. and the bus is cheap, and it dumps you at the Sam's and the Walmart. The Walmart prices are the same as you'd have at Walmart elsewhere in the country, that you'd have in Utah. The Sam's Club is common priced. You just take one of those rolly carts and get back on the bus and go into Manhattan. And it was funny, going on that bus, when I came back from Sam's and Walmart, the first time I didn't know you got to bring the big rolly carts and all this stuff. I mean, it was like people were evacuating to go somewhere as evacuees or refugees. They had so much stuff that they had bought at the Sam's and Walmart. And so if you're willing to do that, you can do that. There's also a very good Costco in Brooklyn that I think you get off at 36th Street. There's several subway lines that go to that stop. And the Costco is like Costco and price like Costco anywhere else in the country. So it is possible to live in Manhattan and with some effort be able to shop at prices roughly equivalent to what you're used to.
And this is from Bill in Delaware. Is it worth upgrading my clothing dryer? Mine is 20 years old and still going strong. Are the new dryers more energy efficient and worth the price to upgrade? Mine is electric, by the way.
So, Bill, the good news is that washers and dryers, after being in such extreme short supply during the early part of COVID in 20 and 21, now seem to be in oversupply with a lot of deals. Would you save enough in electricity to make it worth dumping an old dryer? I don't think so. If it's still working fine, I would say you keep using that dryer. But a dryer, fortunately, is not terribly expensive. And if you do see a great deal on one and you want to go ahead and get a new one, you could. But I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing to run the dryer. A washer is different. Washers have become far more efficient than they used to be. And there's real advantage in the cost of water and energy getting rid of an old washer where there's not as compelling a case for an old dryer. And I want to thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that the rest of your day is absolutely fantastic.